Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. Had a bit of a false start there, but that's okay. That's kind of how it goes, and we're all good to go and ready to talk about the stream. I just realized my lights aren't on. There we go. Much better. I was wondering why it looked weird. So another false start, but that's okay. Say hi in the chat if you're here for the first time or if you're returning. I love seeing you all, and I do want this to be super interactive. So please, definitely leave comments, and I want to be responding to them as we go, and I'll kind of leave little pauses and things like that. And so if you are watching the replay too, I'm going to have chapter markers throughout all of it. I've got my stream deck here. I've got my special shortcut set up where I can leave little moments for any time the chapters transition from topic to topic, moments where I'm leaving feedback for Apple because I'll be submitting that after the fact. I'm even going to take clips out of this too. So if there are good moments and you want me to make a clip, leave that in the chat too. I'll be cutting out any bad parts and then also all of the shortcuts that I'm going to be covering because those will be going out for members afterwards. So this is going to be fun and I'm super excited to share it with you all. This is so cool. I just got to start out by saying universal control is freaking amazing. Shortcuts automations now don't require confirmation all the time. And so we're basically able to use automations to the fullest instead of, I think I was getting 260 notifications a day. So it was kind of wild. So yeah, I think I'm just going to jump into it. Apple has now released release notes. I guess that's how you would say that, for shortcuts, which means that hopefully, at least with the major updates, they're going to be putting out a post that says, here's everything new with this. And then going forward, I think they're going to be able to, I'd like them to also put it into the beta updates that developers get and things like that, because I really want to see what's changed from version to version. Because even looking through this, I'll show it here in a moment, I missed some of these things, and so I didn't even know about it. So why don't I just throw this up? Here are the release notes for iOS 15.4 and macOS 12.3. So stream's over, you guys are good. No, I'm just kidding. Can just read this, but I'm going to go through each of these in detail and basically show you all what it means. And we're just going to talk through each point, and I'm going to give some examples. I do think some of the automation stuff I'm going to have to save for another stream because there's just so many examples, and it's all on my phone. And right now I do have the iPad hooked up. I'm pretty sure I lost my automations on this iPad at some point, so we can create some from scratch there, but this will be fun, and let's just get into it. So one of the big things, actually, you know what? I got to start out with universal control because this is how I'm going to be running this stream. I have this double window setup, which is pretty fun. This here has, I can hide my tweets off in the corner, but I've got the main window here, and then I've got my iPad over here. So I don't know if you noticed that. Just universal control, straight up. I'm using this one trackpad and this one keyboard, and then I have my iPad over here on the right, and all I have to do is just swipe over, and then I can use the iPad, all of the gestures. So first of all, major win for streaming. This is awesome because I can just do both. I used to literally have two keyboards right in front of me, and it was ridiculous. So I can basically just pop over here now and show what we're doing as we're going. So here's also my checklist for the release notes, and we can just keep this up. Or, if I do feel like it, I also can pop it up on the Mac using the little quick note feature, which is pretty fun. So I'm just going to hide that for now. And let me just show you actually notifications on the iPad. All right. Automation, personal automation. So one of the main things with shortcuts and automations, actually, you know what? Let me quickly, I'll just keep talking about this, but I'll make a scene. One of the things with shortcuts is that as you're going throughout, the only automations that work are the ones that work in the background. So currently, arrive, leave, before I commute, email, these ones don't work. Email, messages, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth do not work in the background. These all require confirmation before prompts. And so essentially in that process, here, let me just show you. Sorry, I think the the eCam pings are popping a lot in my ears, so I'm gonna try to turn that down in a moment. But basically, with automations, whenever they do work in the background and you get to this step, you'll have this trigger that's ask before running. And if you toggle this off, this is again, folks will know one of my favorite menus. Don't ask before running. Whenever this automation is triggered, it will perform actions on your behalf without asking first. Cancel or don't ask. This has still got to be okay. First part of feedback. Please change that language because it's just so like I don't know how anybody could actually process what that means without being told on a stream like this. But now, once you do turn that off, there's this toggle for notify when run. And so notify when run essentially enables people, like anytime the notification goes off, it'll show up in here. And if you have notify when run turned off, it will just show a stack of shortcuts notifications that says you ran this many shortcuts and things like that. So through that process, by turning that off, you can essentially have all of your shortcuts automations run seamlessly in the background. And for somebody like me, that basically makes automations worth it in a major way because you don't get constantly bugged. Okay, hold on. I gotta do very, very brief cat break because Oliver is here. Come here. Come here. Okay, he's not down for it. He just wants to play. Sorry, bud. Go away. Okay, back into it. So the notify when run toggle is extremely useful because I have all these automations for time of day, focus modes, and things like that, and even some automations that specifically are trying to send me a notification. And so if I'm using shortcuts when, if I'm trying to okay, sorry, I changed the scene and I totally just tripped myself up. When I'm running all of those automations, it's just giving me a secondary notification constantly, and I actually just want the main automation to go. There's another feature too. I just realized I didn't have it set up on the iPad yet, but you can tap and hold on the notification to see a preview of which automation it was that ran. And so currently with shortcuts, it's kind of an issue because they went almost like too far where then you just don't know what any of your automations do because there's just a stack that says 20 things ran. And I wish they had some sort of queue or like a history somewhere inside the Shortcuts app, maybe over just somewhere in the automations tab that's just like, these are the automations that ran, because I think that would make a huge difference and just like enable people to track what is going on and really understand whether it was worth it, or especially as you get into the higher levels, you're just going to run into that. So there's another little bit of feedback for Apple. Let me just go through all the automation types that do work with it. So time of day, including sunrise, sunset, and then specific times of day, week, or the month. I wish there was I think they have the 20th day, the 30th. They don't have the thing where you can do the last day of the month where it automatically decides. But that would be another little piece of feedback. Sunrise and sunset are great too, and you can also do these kind of sets. So I actually have multiple of these on my iPhone. 4 hours before I don't use that one. I use at sunrise, and then I think an hour after sunrise, and then 2 hours after sunrise. Because I don't know about you all, but I tend to wake up just when the sun comes up, no matter what time it is. Or obviously if I wake up before, but that is like kind of my schedule a lot of times. And I just kind of realized this is how I have a set of shortcuts that set different backgrounds for the time of day. And essentially that is always changing based on sunrise and sunset, not specific times a day. So that's how I use that. Oh, yes. Hey, Joe. Nice to see you. He was referring to the fact that I was just in Yosemite. So no, this is, we got Monterey here. Nice to see you. Okay, let me ask this quick question. If an automation runs a shortcut as part of an automation, will a notification show up? Like the run shortcut action? I don't think so. I'm not exactly sure. If you can clarify that, like that is what the automations are doing already, if from the way that I understand that. So personal automation grind bright and early. Yeah, David, you know it. That's every day. All right. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get your automation grind going at 4 hours before sunrise, here's how you can do it over here. And alarms are a really good one too, especially if you snooze your alarm a lot. You can kind of have it like gradually turn on the lights every bit, or just choose specific alarms. I don't actually have any set on this iPad. So the other ones that are great, low power mode, battery level, and charger are also automations that you can set. I did a stream in the past where I basically showed everybody how I set that up, where I have a custom low power mode at like 35% instead, because I was having so many bugs that Shortcuts was draining my battery life. And so I basically wanted to go into low power mode sooner than 20% to save my battery over time. Or like I have a thing where when it's at 5%, it literally says critical alert, low battery. So that's actually pretty fun. I only have it set during certain times a day, so I don't always get it at night because I just don't want it to yell at me, but it is pretty entertaining when I suddenly realize that my phone just shouts at me. So I see other people, they do pranks with that on YouTube and TikTok, so be forewarned. Two that don't show up here over on the iPad are CarPlay, Apple Watch workouts, and NFC tags. And those are actually some of the more fun opportunities for automations in the background. NFC tags, because you can tap your phone to something and have it happen automatically. CarPlay, just because you can get in the car and it's like you always want Overcast to open right away. It'll just happen right away and it doesn't notify you every time. And then Apple Watch workouts are also a good one because I use Toolbox Pro and it basically looks at whether my AirPods are connected or not and then turns off noise cancellation. So it turns on transparency so that when I'm driving around or walking around the neighborhood, I don't get hit by a car or something like that. Generally pretty good. So, and then the other ones, actually, app automations are a really good opportunity. Joe Rebar, I'll put his comment up again, he makes the app Toggle for Timery, and I use his app almost exclusively for these to time track based off which app I'm using. So if I'm in YouTube Studio or something like that, it adds it to my YouTube time tracking project. So that's actually a really great. Well, I think it's like such a perfect one that it overrides my ability to think of other good app automations. So if you guys have some, let me know. And I'm definitely going to cover each automation in its own stream and just try to make as many as I can now, because why not? You can do it. Automations now run in the background seamlessly. So I think then the other one, I'm going to jump ahead past focus modes. And you know what? I think I probably should just show an iPad screen. There we go. That's a little bit better. Why don't I bob myself into the corner? Just do that again. Okay. That I should have been doing this the whole time. And yeah, Joe, of course. Timery is the frickin' best. Like, if you guys want a time track and you've never, like, sign up for Toggle for free and then use Joe's app because it's so good and pay for it too so that he can keep doing this because apps cost money. I love it, Joe. You are seriously the best, though. Okay, I'm going to continue on before I embarrass you too much. Sound recognition is actually a pretty fun automation now, and I didn't totally understand this as a shortcuts trigger until it got the ability to run in background, because here's a good example. Like, my cat was just meowing, and I have this one set up somewhere else where I basically set a reminder. I can just set this up real quick. I wanted it to be, I just like want to play with my cat more. And so I do. Now I just feel guilty because I'm just not playing with him while we're talking. Did this just freeze on me? What's going on? Oh, it's universal controls a little bit wonky there with the adding actions from an automation. See, this is buggy. Oh, geez. I essentially wanted to remind myself to get back to work in 15 minutes after I play with my cat. And so I took the adjust date action and just say add 15 minutes. And this is another good example. Actually, I have the show notification action in my other, I'll put it in here too in just a second. But basically this is like get back to work. You know what? This is even going to be better than my current version, because I asked myself the question of what I'm working on. Well, that's not necessary. I just need to know to get back to work. Let me just build this real quick. with alert at time, and then I put in that adjusted date. Universal control is going really slow with dismissing these. So then I do show notification. This little menu too. I wish this was a full screen menu, but then it's just like, your cat is meowing. Go play with them and get back to work later. I thought this was pretty clever. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna just leave that typo because I don't want to wait for this. So now ask before running, don't ask, and then it just doesn't even notify me. Oh, you know what? Notify when run is off by default. I don't think that was in the earlier betas. So we just figured out a new feature. Nice. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it is like, you don't want to be notified most of the time. If it's running in the background, that's the point. And then I guess the other flip side of that, before I get to the focus automations, is that the reason these ones that don't run in the background they have to notify you when run, because that's just how it works. Like, it doesn't make sense if it needs to pop up to show you, like, hey, you're here, do you want to run this shortcut? It could not show that. Otherwise, it'd be running in the background. So that's kind of why this isn't on that feature. It's a little weird to have it like tied into ask before running, but I think it makes sense once you kind of think through it. Okay, so the last bit for automations is focus modes. And I should have started with this as usual, because this is, I think, the most interesting one. And I want to just say it here to really say this for people to know. If you are trying to do things where you change your location or you connect to a specific network, like at work and things like that, chances are you can use focus modes as a replacement for a literal, I am arriving at this location, because your home, if you come and walk around the neighborhood or something like that and come back, it's going to start triggering these. It would, in theory, if these ran in the background, would trigger it over and over again. Whereas focus modes have this intelligent detection. I think, let me just look in the settings real quick. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it'll automatically change depending on your context. What is it? Oh, this one's already, that one's a default one. Smart activation, that's what it is. Automatically turn newsletter on at relevant times throughout the day based on signals like your location, app usage, and more. So basically, if you have something that's like, my newsletter one's not a great example, but let me go over to work, is just like, it knows that I'm at work and will turn it on for me. And that is a lot better than setting your work address, and then anytime you enter the work address, it does all these things. Plus, you can actually still have the full prompt. And I'll also say, like, I'm half making an excuse for the fact that this just doesn't work. So just to be fair, if you want it to work, you can get super, super close with focus modes, way more than you ever could with just the automatic prompt or the prompts that require confirmation. So I think that's why it's really helpful to do this if you want, like, when I get to work, this kind of thing happens. So highly recommended if you are, like, whenever I'm home, I'm in my personal mode, then do these kind of things. It can, maybe some of that could get a little wonky, and of course you want to be super specific, so that's when I would bring in things like NFC tags too, if you are in a specific place in your home and stuff like that. But those are pretty fun. I also just love, with focus modes, set up an Apple Watch face for every one of these and just turn it on. And that's a really nice way to use shortcuts automations, because suddenly, in context, your home screens and your Apple Watch are changing with you in the background, and you don't even get all these things pinging you that it's happening. It's just going. So I really think this is like the main time to jump into shortcuts automations if you want to get more out of it, because now it'll just keep going and you'll have a lot to work with. So definitely, I'm going to be releasing all of my automations as little batches, and I also have an addition to my shortcuts catalog coming soon that's called, I think I named it the Automation Index. I always mix these up because I just have to give some sort of name to it. But basically, I will have all of these automations listed out and all of the things that you can do with them and the ways that my shortcuts work with it. So Pretty fun stuff. I'm super excited to release that. Of course, I had some shortcuts bugs. My folder's unsynced twice this week already. But I did I think I got the main issue. There was one action, or one shortcut from that used Better Touch Tool that unfortunately I think there's a current bug in the action that makes it expand in size. So this 6-step shortcut was 50 megabytes and was basically blowing up my sync. And then also when I moved like 400 folders back into order, I opened up another iPad and it like freaked out and chopped it in the middle. And so now I have to go back through and fix that again. So it's been killing. I've literally been dealing with this for a long time, but it's so, it's close. I can taste it. So that is coming soon. So let me jump back in now to these release notes and everything else that we got going. And let's start going through some of these new actions that are supported. So tags in reminders are an awesome feature that was added in iOS 15. And I basically didn't take advantage of it because there's so much, but it didn't work with shortcuts. And I'm now just remembering that I'm showing my personal information on a stream. So let me just look at this briefly and drop any questions real quick about automations before I move on, because I'm realizing I'm just skipping ahead without answering any questions. And then I can also maybe, I mean, lactate is recommended, I'd say, if you're going to eat any cheese, that's a good idea. Okay, I don't think there's anything embarrassing. We should be good to go. But yeah, any questions about automations real quick, and I will get to them too before I move on. I have some non-HomeKit lights I turn on with Google Assistant. Is there a way to have an automation execute at a specific time that launches that shortcut without asking me to unlock my phone? I don't think so, because Google Assistant requires opening the app. So that's on them. I have that action too. And I could just show you guys if this works. And it's in order. It's somewhere in here. I have too many shortcuts in case you're just seeing this for the first time. I have many, many, many. I've also been doing this for like 10 years, so that's why. There it is. So yeah, when you run this, they do have an Ask Google thing, which is awesome. And so you can get a little prompt, but they are using, I think it's iOS 13 APIs where it opens the app to perform the action. And so Google could update this to have it work in the background, but they haven't. It actually would be wild if they did, because they would make shortcuts work with Google and Google Assistant fully in the background and Siri. And it's just like, it's so wild. Here's a good question. This is a great one before I switch off. What are your thoughts about introducing shortcuts into business processes? Are automations stable enough? I honestly am not. My default answer would be to say no to right off the bat, because I have had issues with it. I would say that you can build a system that can get you super, super close. I think the 100% reliability thing is something that I honestly haven't experienced myself. So I do want to just be clear. I think in theory it should, and Alex is saying like they are. I do have problems with specific apps, is I think why I'm saying that. I have shortcuts, automations on my phone that get playlists from the music app, and then that app doesn't provide the updated playlist. And so that's where I run into issues. So I guess I should rephrase that and say they do run. It's whether the services that you work with and how you've designed the shortcut actually works also. So I think this is something I for sure will test. And that's a great point that I pretty much have trouble trusting it because of some of those issues that I run into, but also there's it will work most of the time. I think I'm just on the betas and I have 2,500 shortcuts. So if you are running 10, it probably is going to be fine. And they do kick off great. So here's another good question. Do you have automations for work emails or messages? I currently only have a couple, only because I literally just work by myself. So this is a great example. Louis, if you send me a tweet or something like this, if you have specific situations where you need those, I would totally build those. Let me just show you real quick. I have one. I guess it's not, it's on the other device too. Man, I really need to set up automations on this iPad if I'm going to use it to show these. But I can just do it quick too. Press the button. So one of the awesome things about this is first you can customize just like the subject or other filters, who it's from, if you are any part of the recipients. Let me just say, test. Can I do this with only that one filter? What I want to show you is this ability with the shortcut input is super powerful. Okay, come on. I can't not being able to tell if it's universal control or is just freezing. It is, I guess I'll just pull in the text action. The shortcut input variable allows you to extract the details of the email. So look at this. This is so cool. You can actually get the email itself or the subject line, the sender, recipients, attachments, and content of the email in your shortcut. The main thing is that it has to be run from that notification. And so I think these are like, this is a really untapped area for me specifically, partially because I don't get emails. I tried really, really hard not to get emails for my job. So that was kind of my problem. And then also with messages too, I think a lot of the people that I contact, I just have like casual conversations with. And so I don't need like, I'm waiting for my boss to text me. And when he texts me the word urgent, then like, I think what's hard too is all of these, I would have it flash my lights, but these don't run in the background. And so you do have to confirm them every single time. So let me see. Is there a way to trigger an automation when an email gets moved to a specific folder? Create a PDF of an email when I purchase something and move it to my purchase folder. That's pretty good. I don't think shortcuts itself can. I think something like, I'm curious if like Fastmail or those kind of tools, a lot of Mac apps now can provide that kind of shortcuts triggering functionality themselves, but I think most apps developers don't really know that that's a thing that they can do. They can use AppleScript or shortcuts events and the command line utility to act as their own automation triggers for shortcuts for Mac. So this is a huge, I should have clarified that too. The reason I'm showing you on the iPad is that shortcuts for Mac just literally doesn't have an automations tab. There's nothing there. But any existing Mac app tools can also trigger shortcuts. So it's kind of a weird in between, and we'll probably get automations for Mac in the future, but at least right now, we have shortcuts for Mac at all. So that was a great question also. Let me just make sure also. So you can create a PDF of an email probably through, if I just went over here and like took this and did make PDF. And I think even one of the actions, let me just go back over here. Oh man, universal control, so nice. You guys are seeing this, right? That this is just so like easy. That's one of the actions. Or no, wait. Email. Send email supports the picker. Converting text to PDF now works on macOS. So that's also what you can do. I guess not through this automation though, because it's not possible. This is where Shortcuts always has like 10 variables about how it exactly works and those kind of things. So we will get through it at some point, but I think currently, I think all of these things too, I want to keep as different sections for like, people want this. It's totally should be possible. Yeah, great for QA, like quality assurance. That's a great point. Just like having the stacks. I think what would really get me now, and this is, I'm just going to say another feature request for shortcuts, just the ability to name these automations. If this had, I've said this before, but like if this just had like weekly report from my boss as the title of the automation when it came in, then I would know what to do, what it's going to do, and that I should run it in that moment. I think right now what happens is Shortcuts doesn't, it just says a time and the automation and the name of the actions. And so I just don't know what those do. That's another major feature that I think would make automations useful, is just naming them. So it's a trigger that runs and not just like this set of tools that you have to remember what it does. This might be Since iOS 15 shortcuts will no longer print a New York Times cross puddle, that might be New York Times, because I think they took away some of that capability in the background. And Stevens, also, I should have showed this at the beginning. Can you share a list of some up-to-date shortcuts? I have all of my shortcuts on my website at matthewcassinelli.com/Siri shortcuts. And I'm about to basically release another. I have 2,000 right now, and I only have about 150 on my actual website. Sorry, Ecamm's blocking my view. So I'm going to be releasing all of these as soon as I physically can. I've been trying constantly for weeks, and there's still even like all these images aren't showing up, but here are all of my shortcuts. Basically, most of these are going to be broken out back into folders so that you can see all of the different steps, because each of these does about 50 different things on its own. And then I'm also releasing a whole new set for everybody else as well. So super exciting. I'm super pumped about that. And it's, if as soon as these folders, like the reason these release notes are good is because now I can be like, oh, they actually have fixed sync, or no, sync still isn't fixed yet. And I can point to this and be like, please fix it still. Yes. Oh, yeah. And then here's another great tip about automations. I should have said this too. This is what I want to do as well soon, but I just built them all in it. When you create automations, just make a regular shortcut, and then in the automation, use the run shortcut action. And then you can also just share the shortcut as well. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. I just didn't finish it before this because I also have a lot of base64 encoded images on my phone, and I was having trouble copying and pasting that stuff out. So that'll be all out in the membership thing as well. That's how I'm going to share it as individual shortcuts. Yeah, Max. Oh, hey, nice to see you. Rename your automation so you know if you need to run it. So, and you're setting them up the rest of the day. Nice, I love it. Let me know what kind you are, and I feel like this should be good with automations so far. So, I want to help people. If you have suggestions or questions, let me know, and I'll go into them. All right. Let's jump into reminders tags. Whoa, that is not supposed to happen. I just opened my stream window and it zoomed in on the window. Okay. Back to reminders. So now I'm going to actually show you this up here in the Mac app as well. And I'm just realizing I don't need to be in dark mode. Okay. How are y'all doing? Automation's good on you? There's a lot to absorb. Probably should have tweeted about my stream. Joe, you doing good? Nice. Something on my WDC wish is for apps to be able to define automation triggers so that when something happens in the app, an automation can run. I think you can just do this, though. Like, I don't know how. I'm not a developer, but Ecamm Live has a tool. Let me just see if I can show you guys. Is this going to be too meta? Yeah, okay. I don't know if that's going to work, but basically Ecamm has in the settings now, I can set just events, like when they detect something happening in their event, they just call an Apple script and it runs a shortcut for me. So whenever the app opens or closes, I have different things happen. So Joe, I'll try to connect you with the Ecamm people and see if they can enlighten how they did that, but it is cool. All right, let's get into reminders tags. So I was mentioning this before, but in iOS 15, reminders got these tag support so that across all of your different actions, you can have different tags and be like, this is entertainment. And I want this part of the stream in particular, I want this to be collaborative because I want to know how you all would use tags versus lists, because this is where I get into like this philosophical, the study of taxonomization is what it is. I like studied taxonomies in order to create my shortcuts catalog. I basically had all this metadata associated with shortcut, and I just invented what those should be. And so it's a very like taxing process. That's, oh my God, that was not even an intentional pun. That was really bad. But basically I had to process all of this information and decide something that's a tag essentially should fit across different categories. whereas a category is that unique thing. So a tag tags are similarities, and it's just like that one thing is different for this individual piece, whereas like grouped together they fit under a category. So essentially the way that you could think about this more is just like all of my video tasks are in here, and then I can essentially say like this one is planning, and then this one is shortcuts. And across both of those, this is the same category, but the tags are the unique or the similar features unique to that individual item. So this is a terrible explanation. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to verbalize, and it's hard to create from scratch, but I think it makes sense to most people. But I'm just curious. Like I have a planning category, but I could also use a tag, and so this is honestly where I do get messed up. The easiest thing that I've started to experiment with is getting things done, because they have very clear ways to decide how you should approach tasks. And a lot of it comes from, thanks, verbalized 100%. Can relate. It's confusing, but basically GTD has a set of how you should approach in a task. And it's like, how long does it take? How much energy do you have? So let me see. Ooh, it's not letting me. Low energy. And then I think it's context. So like Mac Mini. And then also, I think it's priority, or maybe that's where it gets into these groupings, but it's very confusing. Ah, yes, Joe from past stream, planning. I forgot about that. I was making shortcuts actions for Timery, and it was the category, the tag, and the title of it were all planning. Yes. Okay, let me put that in. So now down here, you can just see like all of my iPad mini, all of my Mac mini tasks. Nope, don't show both, just one. And then you can group these by this. So with shortcuts, you can now add those tags automatically. And you do have to, if you're going to have multiple, here's a quick tip, is to combine them with commas in order to insert this list. It might actually, now that I think about it, it probably should just work with if there is a list. I haven't actually tested it, so we could fix it now. I'll probably do it later. I don't want to do too much building live, but now with these you can set, I just did a very basic version of like, what's the reminder? Let's run it. Submit feedback from the stream. What tags? Work. Done. Add to inbox. Let's see. Actually, you know what? It probably is already in there. Submit feedback from the stream under my work thing. And then now I can always go in here and just see that. So that's again, like, do I tag every single task in my work category work? Probably not. But if you don't have this group of specific things and just a couple of lists, you might want to use this. Let me see here. Another thing that I realized is the actions work with the find reminders. The find reminders action has tag support too. So now when you add a filter in like this, which has been redesigned as well in this Mac experience. Come on, open up. See, this is just freezing on me. Okay, there we go. Sorry, eCam is my live streaming thing. It's always showing over the top, and so sometimes it's getting in my way. See, this is clicking on this one action. This is what happens when you get to this scale. And so I think this is another example of like, these things need to operate at a certain level. Otherwise it'll just freeze. And then by the time it gets back, okay, here it is. You can see it. Tags, contains, does not contain. So does not contain is also like, don't show me any work things, but let me get this. Basically this, I was starting in with like 30 minutes if the tag contains that and is not completed, this is another filter you should use with all your reminders actions. It's just the ability to not show any completed reminder. Like, you almost never want that. So this should almost always be included in your find reminders action. But then this basically I'll pick from the list, and then it'll find all those with it. Let me pick from those, and then gets the list of that item and opens it, because you can't actually open a specific reminder. So you just want to, it's like, I want to see where this tag actually is. And this is built off of one of the issues that I have with tags is, like, you're in here 15 minutes and it shows you, okay, no, don't. It shows you that it's in the video thing, but I can't go to the list and see the associated tasks, especially if there's a piece of feedback right there, is that Apple should have the ability to go from a reminder here in a tag back to the list, probably just by clicking on it or something. But now my shortcut enables you to be like, oh, what else is on my videos list? I want to see the other 15-minute tasks associated with it, and then boom, show it up. So that's actually, I love this shortcut. I don't remember if I tested this one, but I was trying to find all the tags where it doesn't have something, but I'm pretty sure this was broken, so I'm not going to run that one. How would you all use tags? Like, I'm curious. I've got the GTD things going, and I'm going to be releasing those shortcuts, but I kind of haven't found the most useful setup for this. I'm kind of just trying to figure it out myself, and I think the GTD stuff is probably going to be the basics, at least, because I already have lists, I already have categories. I think that all makes sense. Yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me get back to one of these quick questions. I always used to use push cuts on the other iPad to act as my confirmation, but now that you don't need to give confirmation to run a shortcut. No, this is still the same thing of it. It does require confirmation. Like, it doesn't change the ask when running thing. I might have covered that before you were in here, but it only works for the same set that work in the background right now. So push cut is still a really useful trigger, especially for things like web services that you can't. It's kind of like what we were saying with apps triggering shortcuts, is push cuts is still really good for that. Let me see. I think if I have a long list of tasks due today, but I'm only in the mode for a certain type of task, so I tag some of today's items as errand, urgent, and create smart list to view. Nice. I like that. See, I just have a list called errands already, or like chores, I guess. But I mean, I like that. I think errands, that makes sense. It could apply across both of those things. Let me see. Wait, where'd that go again? Urgent is another good one. I mean, there is flagged as well, but that can kind of, I tend to just flag a ton of things, and then that view doesn't become useful. So I do like that, though. It's just like breaking down what you're doing so you understand the groups. It's a good point that you might not even need to use them so actively. It's just like, oh, I have these things due today. I think that's why the energy thing I like a lot, because it's like, this is high energy, but this one's low energy. And so I want to do the low energy thing first. And then you can just kind of see those visual associations. So that's a good point. I'm thinking way too much about the practical utility of grabbing all of these with shortcuts and not just inserting them with the tag just for metadata. So nice. Great comments. Yeah, Alex, I'm using Ecamm, and I don't stream. I'm showing the iPad is plugged into my Mac, so I don't know if there's a way to stream straight from the iPad and show your screen. I think Twitch might let you do it. I don't think YouTube does. My smart list only shows items tagged in also due today's. Nice. Interesting. That's cool too. I didn't think about that. I struggled with the smart list feature because it doesn't let me, I want to choose things from multiple lists or like pick it off of that list. And so it feels a little limited to me. But that would be a good thing. And then the other thing that I didn't build a shortcut for specifically because it doesn't work is the show list action um, or show reminders list action doesn't support smart tags right now. And so this should have the ability to let you come in and show a smart list that you've created, because that makes them a lot more useful. So I just want to open it. All right. I think that's reminders tags in a nutshell, at least. I'd love to work with, if anybody has like specific tagging systems, like I do this all in Things too, and I use a lot of these tags, but I think what happens for me is just that this ends up being more simple than tagging by business constantly. I just have one business list, and then honestly what I've been doing is I just have notes where all of those subtasks are contained. So I'm kind of actually moving back into reminders through this, and then really saving things for like the work projects that I'm doing, not just everyday tasks. But who knows? It might be one of those things where I felt really productive because I switched my entire to-do list system instead of just actually doing anything. Also, it just felt good. So I feel like probably some of you can relate. Oh, what's up, Doc? Hey. Wow. I've never said that way. Hey, what's up, Doc? Nice to see you. Thanks for having me on the stream. And I was just sharing about, oh yeah, Doc, you got to connect with Joe Rebar in the chat, because he's wondering, he wants to know how Ecamm did all the automation things. Oh wait, I think I actually missed Joe's follow-up. I was thinking, when you create a personal automation, I'd like apps to be able to list specific events in that list of available triggers. I think that could be interesting. I'd like apps to be able to list specific events. Okay, I see. Like they can read shortcuts automations event triggers. That'd be cool. Nice. Let's talk about that, and let's like write something up and ask Apple for it, because why not? That's how they probably haven't thought of that, and you're like, I'd like that, so let's do it. Oh yeah, this is a good point. You can use the ATIM mini type thing. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing without directly controlling it. Hello, over here. I seriously love universal control. Hey, Joseph. Wow, John Moses. Joseph is what I said. All right, let's move on to the next one. Get back here. Get current web page from Safari. So I feel like if anybody has been seeing, I keep tweeting with John Gruber, because he is all about getting this current. He does link blogging with his site during Fireball, and he has a specific automator thing that he's used for years called, I think it's called Tweet Deets, where it is used to get current web page from Safari through Automator and grabbed all of the information out. And essentially in shortcuts, this just didn't work, or it didn't. Let me open up the actions just to go through it properly, because there's a lot of overlap, and so it can honestly get confusing. Let me just pull up Safari stuff. So I think it was iOS 15, maybe early, or I guess it was the year before, filter articles, get article using Safari Reader, and get details of article. I guess this was all shortcuts. These are now powered by Safari, and so this is all iOS technology of Safari Reader and things like that. Like, that's even actually built into the Mac, but just these actions are designed to work with iOS right now and not the Mac. And then the only one that did come to the Mac was get current web page from Safari. Or I think some of these also work, but it's kind of, honestly, this is where I just I have my action directory so I can determine this stuff and not have to figure it out myself. Safari web page are only available when running your shortcut as an action extension in Safari. So that one does not work. Get details of Safari web page does not. But get current web page from Safari does. Wait, yeah. It's get. I can't even remember. I have it right here. This works, and it doesn't run from the Safari web page. Maybe this, let me just process again, as an action extension. Get current selection. Let's see if it works. That's how you just got to test it. Did it work? No, it did not. Okay, good to know. It says that it works, and here's how then. It only works through the variable, not that action. That's very confusing. Here's the web page, same exact information. Now it'll work. Feedback, that is silly. And does it even do it? It also just does not produce the result. Maybe it's the markdown thing. Sorry, I'm just testing this live right now. I don't know what else to. It says it'll work. Okay, this is. Oh, page contents works. Page selection does not. Let's see, page URL. Okay. There it is. And selection, that is not true. That is broken. Feedback. Number like 15, I think, so far. No, just kidding. Very close, though, honestly. Okay. So selection does not work. That's specifically what Gruber was wanting. So that's funny. And I'm pretty sure he was trying to work on this yesterday after seeing this, because I saw him like my tweet from 2 years ago where I sent this to him on iOS, but that's entertaining. So get current web page from Safari now supports retrieving details like name, page contents, and URL, but not the selection. So essentially, I should have backed up again. What you can do with this is scrape stuff from this active page. So like I could make a whole post. Let me just even do a quick sample version. Current web page. Get the text in. And then it's like put in the name up here. I guess the page contents you don't necessarily, you could scrape that differently, but it's like view the whole article, this kind of thing, and then put it into Markdown, and then you've got like a nicely formatted make rich text from Markdown. Here's like a little thing. Takes you back to the main page, I guess, behind shortcuts. So yeah, it's pretty fun. That's a good one. Oh yeah, Doc's dropping all the knowledge. I love it in the chat. Cool. So yeah, Safari stuff is great. It looks like there's a little bit more to be fixed there with the selection page. Maybe it's even, yeah, because it says you can't run it through the action menu. So I'm not sure why that doesn't work. That just is broken, I suppose. Cool. And yeah, I mean, just while Doc is saying that he does work at the Ecamm, and I thought I said that too, but I'm using Ecamm because it works, and so like it's amazing. I can do all this in real time without freaking out with OBS for 35 minutes. All right, let's keep going on this list. This next one is super fun. Again, not on macOS though, so let's switch back to the iPad. Good over here. Playback, and it's frozen. Let's get it going, shortcuts. So I don't know about you all, but I have wanted for so long speaker groups in iOS and macOS. Just to be fair, it doesn't work on macOS, so I shouldn't have said it that way. But the set playback destination now has new parameters. So here, set playback destination now supports adding and removing playback destinations, so you can play to multiple devices at once. So in shortcuts, man, it took the whole sentence for this menu to pop up. You used to only have set, which essentially changes from the current source to a different source. And you can never set two HomePods as a source preemptively, or using shortcuts, it would just split any existing groups down the middle and send it just to one of them. So now you have the ability to add
a device to a playback destination and essentially start adding multiple devices and make a speaker group. So here I've got, I guess this is plugged in, so that one's not going to show it in the same way, but let me see if this will work with that. I'll test it again real quick. Maybe I'll do the ones that are not downstairs where my girlfriend is and do the ones upstairs. This is going to be a fun thing, of course, where maybe it doesn't work live. Black HomePod and Studio. So yeah, it made a little speaker group and now they're connected. The one thing you can't do is set, oh wait, actually, can you set the volume? I just realized I don't think I ever tested this. No, okay, you can't set the volume on a different device. I suppose, though, control home. I don't think this is going to work unless the speaker group already exists. Show me. Doc, you love the speaker groups. Where do you, tell me if you have them, what are they? Like, I totally want to know because this is one of those things where I also wanted it for so long and then I got it and I don't use it enough, probably because it didn't work with shortcuts until now. Like these two. And then if I do adjust volume only, it can set them. Okay, let's see. Is it just going to fail? Oh no, did it? It did fail. So I think honestly what they should do is add a parameter here so it's set volume on a certain device, because there is even, let me just show you in the media category. You can set these kind of things, can choose different devices, and it also doesn't work with speaker groups now that I see it. So this is one of those things where they almost need an action called get playback destinations that then can detect if there is a speaker group and then set a speaker group to a specific volume. But right now it is sort of separate. So I think this action set probably could be improved in the future, but this is still really great. And let me just show you too, like now I have one that's just like, do I want to add any device? I can just pick from here and do it real quick. And I did this, I think I could have set this using variables, or maybe even not. If you tap and hold is when you can. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Maybe I would have to declare the variable first, but I just prefer to do it this way sometimes just because these tend to break and they're like a device type, not just a text name. So sometimes it can be wonky, but then adding in music, removing music. So essentially I can walk through the house and just like add a different speaker. And then let me just demonstrate why I have so many shortcuts to you in the most clear way possible. First of all, this is just broken or I set all these in order of my automation, so this doesn't have my beautiful colors. And then somewhere in here it's broken, but I went through and made dedicated folders for every room for all of these speaker things. And some of it is even half set up still, but like I just wanted to be able to go through, let me show you up here, and have this widget stack where I can just say, oh, add to the HomePod, remove from the HomePod, add my Mac Mini as a destination. That's a fun one. Remove the kitchen, add it, hand off, hand back, all that. So this is where I end up. I mean, you can just see that. What is that? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 folders of 8 shortcuts. 7 times 8. What is that? I don't. Oh God, why do I try to do math while I'm live streaming? That's always the worst. I just going to use computers because that's how I trust everything. 56. So that's just 56 smart home short, or just for my speakers. So that there is how I end up exploding into 2,600. But I love it. It's like it is 56 shortcuts, but they're all right here in this one stack, and so it really doesn't take up any space besides this little corner in the Today view, which also barely takes up any space. So this is just wild. I used to play my Apple TV to every HomePod. Nice. Interesting. So you take do you start that from the Apple TV? I'm curious. That's awesome though. I love like starting something on the TV, or just honestly, you don't even, as long as it's playing on the HomePod, you can just change the Apple TV playback destination to point to that. So that's actually an action that I would want in for the Apple TV actions, which can they use the Apple TV remote and control your Apple TV, and it should enable you to set the playback, not just the destination, but like the current playback, because that is a thing too. Like shortcuts can't switch this for you. I wish it could actually take you to the different control, like change now playing to playback destination. So there's another feature request just constantly in this stream is going to be feature requests. But it's like, if I like, obviously when I change the current playback to control those from the current device, it will AirPlay those. But if I wanted it to just show me the kitchen controls, like I can't do that right now with shortcuts. I think that's mostly it for speaker groups. I'm not sure what else you could necessarily do. Like, that's pretty much it. I think it also, for me, helped clarify just how handoff can be used, because it's that same way of sending them off in that opposite direction directly to those other devices. So I'd like to see further support for that as well. And then now I'm thinking about it, that speaker groups thing, I would want to use it there as well. So that is playback destinations. That honestly, to me, is one of the most, I'm super excited about that with shortcuts, because it's just like, I can walk around the house and it's like play everywhere downstairs, play everywhere upstairs, play just in this side of the house kind of thing. Or it's just like, I'm home alone, play everywhere in the whole house. So that's a lot of fun. Do I have that? Oh yeah, here it is. Play everywhere. So another cool update is these translate actions from Apple now work with Apple translation directly. So they used to use Microsoft's powered services, and I don't actually remember how many languages they had, but now these are the list of languages that Apple supports. And I do want to see a lot more in here as soon as possible, but at least for now, this is great. They've definitely gotten a good breadth across like some of the major countries that are usually supported in the first batches with things like this. But basically now you can both translate from any language. You can detect whether or not a language is something. Like, let me just put in, I am French. Merci beaucoup. I think that's how you spell it. I actually haven't even. There you go. Translate detects the French. So that's pretty cool. Then you can basically, by being able to detect it, you can automatically switch. I mean, it can detect it on its own. So this is like, if I wanted to say, oh, that is French in an alert, I can detect the language and translate it at once. But the cool thing that is super, they kind of left it low key in here. Extract text from image now supports all languages supported by live text. So if you have a screenshot that is in French, you can take that screenshot, translate the text, and then show you what it says and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. There's kind of all that real-time translation stuff that you can do. So I would love to know, even just particularly for people who are in here right now, like, what language do you speak? Is it supported by this? Should I make a shortcut for it? Because I just want example, like I use French all the time because I'm French, but I don't think that's the most exciting one. So if you have a nationality language that's, I guess a language is not a nationality. If you're supported in here, let me know and I'll make a shortcut for it. And just like, what are common use cases for your translation needs? Because I can admit that as an English speaker, I tend to not think about it that much because most people translate to English when they're trying to talk to people like me. And I tend to not go the opposite direction, which is very American centric, but that is just kind of how I was raised. So I'm curious. I'd love more opportunity to learn from people like you. Oh yeah, nice. Apple TV apps support Bing triggers. This does happen. I would delete. So Joe, do shortcuts widgets randomly forget which folder they should display? The stack resets at least once a week. There is a current ongoing bug that I've tried to get fixed where essentially anytime you place a shortcut action, if you put 2 in a stack, it will like corrupt it entirely. And so if you like place it, first of all, okay, this list doesn't even work for me, but if I place one and then place another on top, this second one that like it essentially created a stack before it could set. And so now look at this, it just doesn't do anything. This one still I can change. This one is now corrupted and doesn't work. And so I will go in, delete that, and re-add another shortcut stack. And this is I filed this to them too. This is very persistent, and it so consistently works that way that I just know that that's the issue. It's like something gets corrupted, and then later too, if you add multiple and change them all, they'll all break and get reset. So that might be what's happening to you. I'm just gonna use this space to say, look at how many widgets I have. Look at that, all of those. I'm just gonna show you too every single page. I'm just gonna zoom in for effect. I ran into that bug 400 times per device. This is why my catalog isn't finished. It's because I literally would sit here and run into that issue 400 times in a row. And it's just like, that's been there since iOS 14 also, by the way, on the iPhone. So that's great. Don't really go for the widgets unless you have that persistence to delete. It's like create the stack, delete anything besides the first item out of the stack, and then build into the stack. That's the technique. It's a meta strategy just for using the shortcuts widget. Okay, you're saying, sorry, I can't. It's Bastion, right? Your name says VTuber, so my brain is like, okay. I thought this had. You're saying Danish? Oh, weird. I could have sworn Dutch was in here. Is it on iOS? Let me look. Oh, I just ran a shortcut. Oh, I guess I'm doing my handwriting. I almost swore, because Ayaka speaks Dutch, who works on the shortcuts team. Is that really not? Oh, wait. Or maybe it's also, I'm wondering if it's in the other detect. No. Huh. I thought I wrote that down yesterday. Okay, maybe not. Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool. My boss found me watching VTuber, so I just changed the name. I love it. Okay, nice. Nice to see you. Yeah, so that would be a good addition too. It's just, I mean, obviously they need to do more language support. I'm not gonna lie, I totally went in there and tried to see if they had Ukrainian support because I wanted to translate some of those messages in their Telegram channel. All right, what else? Take Photo is now supported on macOS, and I will say off the bat that this does not work with built-in webcams, but this essentially is built for the studio display. Or it doesn't work with external webcams. It just kind of shows nothing. But I'm assuming this is because the new studio display has a camera on there, and so you can take a selfie real quick. Pretty nice, I guess. I mean, this one was, I have an app called Hand Mirror that's designed to just show you what you look like, because I'm not gonna lie, I go live on these streams and then I'm just like, oh, I totally didn't realize that, like right now it's not happening, but the background was blown out, or I didn't realize my lights were on. That happened at the very beginning of the stream. So I feel like I would actually use that. And then it does take a photo, but it doesn't actually save it anywhere. It just shows me what was happening, and then I can dismiss it. So figure I'll use something like that. I'm not actually getting the studio display right now because I have a 4K monitor right here that works for my gaming setup, but I think eventually I'm going to try to have a dual monitor setup, one with the studio display and one with this, so I can actually stream my games too, because that's kind of the problem that I have. It's like I don't have that second monitor when I'm playing the game on the actual monitor. So guess that has nothing to do with taking photos, just monitors. I want to fine tune GPT-3 to generate enhanced shortcuts. If you know how to do that, you should apply at Apple. That's how you start out. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. That's super nice. I love having everybody onto these streams, and I wanna make a lot more content and streams and just do this regularly, because I'm going through tons and tons right now, and this is taking a long time. But like, I just want to build these streams for people. So definitely like subscribe if you haven't already for that, because I'm going to be doing a lot more from this channel, and I think I'm going to have a separate channel to upload clips and things like that. But also, going forward, anyone who is signed up for my membership can get all of these streams and all the private member streams that I'm going to be doing more soon too. For $15 every 3 months is the new system. Let's jump in. Oh, I'll just show you real quick, just because in case people don't know where to find that. MatthewCassinelli.com/membership. Maybe just one slash. It worked. Got it all in here. And I'm going to be basically releasing every single shortcut from this stream for the members this week. Okay. Another quality of life thing. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm freaking out because I love this so much. The end repeat actions can now, and the end if and end repeat actions can now be re-dragged around. So this is essentially, if you were a shortcuts person and you used iOS and then you went to the Mac, you noticed that you ran into this problem where this is a very, very complicated shortcut, but essentially you used to be able to take all of these individual steps and rearrange them, and then have the parts inside essentially move out of the repeat loop just by dragging them. And for the last 6 months, this hasn't worked. And so you can see this massive shortcut. I built a version where I think this part where it repeats through, it didn't used to do this. And so I had to take every single step and move it out one by one out of the repeat loop. Instead, I could literally just come down here to the very bottom and just drag like this, and all of those actions get jutted out. I'm not going to do it because this is too valuable of a shortcut, but it'll basically move them out. And I see Antonio there, like, this is just you and me right now celebrating. But it's a major quality of life thing once you get into scripting more. And so this is just kind of like a reversion that is now fixed. I was worried that this was never going to be able to be fixed because of the way Swift UI worked or something. But so yeah, that's a really great one. I kind of showed this before, but the find and filter thing is more clear. This next section I'm going to do rapid fire because those first three were major features. The rest are similar. I think you might have seen this before. This is a great example because I just use this shortcut all the time. You can now select and press enter to confirm menus like this. So like new folders, I can just press enter and I'll take that choice. I can upload my reminders tags. The one step that I think they missed, and maybe just because it's pretty specific, is I can't use the arrow keys right here to go through and select these items. That is one thing that like is necessary. This is the only step that I have to lift my hands off the keyboard. But then I can still I can press enter to do done, go select the thing. So you can see here, I use this shortcut all the time. It's running over in the corner, but this is how I scrape my shortcuts catalog. And now I can do this all from the menu like this instead of actually going through and tapping all these things. And it's just like, oh, here's all this information. This is how this shortcut works. What's the score? And then it logs all reminders. Command enter. Yes. See, look how fast I can go instead of just stupid clicking everything. So, oh, that's so nice. Like, this is literally like that feature alone enables me to publish this catalog this week instead of next week, because clicking these menus will take me so much time instead of just pressing like, oh no, that one's good. That one's good. That one's, see this one, fix this please. Because that's where it's so close. I can almost fly with it. So that's very awesome. It's very welcome. Those other options didn't work before. And this was, I think, one of the like fair and major criticisms of shortcuts for Mac was it's just like when you're using things, it has to work with the keyboard entirely. Nobody wants to go to the keyboard, switch back, go back and forth. Like that's where you totally lose all of your speed. And when you can just sit there on the keyboard and do it all, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a weirdo and I use a Stream Deck Mini with a set of arrow keys and a confirm thing. So I can literally sit here away from my keyboard and just confirm all of my shortcuts and things like that. So I'm total like I got a Stream Deck Mini just to use for Mac menus. And that's why if that one feature works, this like $100 investment will be more worth it for me. So please, Apple, add it. I'd love it. So another feature that is great, and I actually maybe I'll just put this one straight in my dock. You used to have to, I think you had to select a shortcut and then go up here and do add to dock, which by the way, I've given a custom keyboard shortcut in here in the shortcuts menu, which is, oh my God, the shortcuts app, shortcuts menu with shortcuts, perfect. I typed in add to dock and gave it this. And so this happens when I have a shortcut open. I can just do, I think it's, wait, what did I say? Command Option, Command A. And now it's down here in the dock, which you can see it. But basically now you can also just right click and add to the dock, which is great. Oh, I guess that's the same one. So essentially this just makes it easy to add those shortcuts. And then just to show you as well, you do right click, show in Finder. Oh no. Extra time. Were you in the old, were you watching the old video? Is it still up? I'm so sorry if that was the case. Okay, back here, right click, show in Finder. Put these into this applications folder just for your user. And then you can actually just run this shortcut from anywhere. Look at this. I'll put it on the desktop. Now here I have a shortcut, and if I just double click it, it'll run my shortcut. So this is just straight up, you can make your own apps and then add them to the dock. Like, that's so cool. Obviously you can do add to home screen on iPhone too, but it is just like, that's wild. Putting it anywhere in the file system is wild to me. Like you can go in and have like your work, like I can have my YouTube video folder, and in here is the shortcut that's like create a new video, and I just click it and it starts a new one. So like you can have macros anywhere on macOS too. This is super cool. I should also want to point you to, oh no. Okay, David, that was you. I was confused. I didn't know both of them. That's funny. Mac Stories has, wait, it's in the, I don't remember actually how to find these. They need a tag for their shortcut stuff. Doc? Where'd it go? Nope. I'm having a brain fart now on all of this. Is it on the iPad? It's probably not just iPad. Okay, I'll just go back. But basically, John had the way for you to... Okay, I'm just going to Google it. Mac Stories, dock shortcuts. Ah, there it is. How to batch convert shortcuts through automation. So he essentially has the ability to wrap the script. All of this is really doing, let me just show you while we're here. You can right click, show package contents, and it's just a plist showing you what it is, and then the icon, and then the metadata of the shortcut, which is usually, first of all, just an identifier, which is cool. I want to use those because it actually, even if you change the name of the shortcut, this still works. But I think it's this. No, maybe not. Or I think he's made his own version. Okay, that's right. He made his own version that just bundles this and essentially does the same thing. So I think the one issue that you can see is the name though. And so I'm very curious. I'm going to try to figure this out separately and like with the Mac Stories team of like getting that ID from this. Where'd you go? this one and then wrapping this in the script builder stuff that John has made so that you can add these to the dock. Because essentially this is where you can put it into the dock and then have the same thing get put up for you. So this is super cool too. Like this is the way to add all your shortcuts to the dock. And then this is like, he runs through, oh yeah, this is why I did it the same as him. He essentially made a shortcut that repeats through all your shortcuts and just presses the button to add it to the dock, which is genius. But this was the one that actually screwed up my sync because something about these actions with Better Touch Tool blew up and expanded to like 25 megabytes each. So that's a lot there. Let me see what else with the dock. I think that's it. I have a whole system that I'm trying to build. It's not finished yet, where I add them to the dock, then add them to a folder, and they work in the proper order. And then I just have like all these folders of shortcuts that I can just run. So that's me doing my craziness thing, but it's actually great because then I can just like pop this up. Hey, look, I'm live. All right, let me show a couple more things. There's now on the Mac the provide output action. So this is a new thing here where it just adds the stop and output step in for you, but it adds this helpful menu that says, if selected, this shortcut provides output which can be used in the following ways. Running a shortcut from Quick Actions in the Finder on the Mac, the output will saved as a file along the files selected in the Finder. Running a shortcut from Services on macOS, the output will replace the selected text. Running a shortcut from another shortcut, this will be used as the output of the shortcut action, and then as the input, wouldn't it? The output will be used as the output. That should say input the second time. Okay. When running a shortcut from another location that supports output, like the command line. Okay. So essentially, what actually is super cool about this, and I didn't realize this with Services shortcuts, is if you right click and run a shortcut from here, it can actually like put a new file in place and replace what you're doing. Or even if you're typing text and you're like, test, hello, maybe doing it inside shortcuts isn't the best idea, but it can actually like take the text that you have, manipulate it, and then put it back. So like this is actually really powerful. If you're writing something and you want to have like rich text, you could like take this and say test. I think, let me just try it. I think I have, oh, it does it in alphabetical order, of course. Make Markdown image, that's not right, but actually, you know what? I bet this isn't set up. Come on. That's why I didn't. Okay, make Markdown image. Back in. Let's see, did that actually freeze or it's just... Yeah, see, it worked. I guess I had Markdown already. Okay, wait. So this is awesome. Like this makes Mac shortcuts a lot more useful too, because like it's actually a mini share sheet thing and it just does it for you. You don't have to go in and paste again. So that's really nice. Like this stop and output thing is a new thing from iOS 15 that I took a while to realize, but all of my actions, like you saw before, it's just frozen. I just end them with copy clipboard because half the time if there's nothing working, I want it somewhere, and they like essentially accounted for that with stop and output. Almost every one of my shortcuts probably should finish with this. One of the weird things about this particular feature being in the sidebar is it just isn't on the iPad, and I don't know why. There's just no option there. And so that should, because it just is super helpful. See, it can also like respond and say, here's what it should have been and that kind of thing. So that's actually really nice. I think I just Okay, good. I made a shortcut that turns a folder of shortcuts into a list of titled markdown links. Nice. That's fair. I know the feeling there. Like I can have buttons on my website that run my shortcuts, but when are you gonna click that? I use links in shortcuts for my task manager to open the shortcut and run it. Let me move on. So icons are changed. These are another few. I'll just cover these. You can see some of the icons here in just like Open App has a new one. The clipboard ones are the most confusing to me because they used to be red and now they kind of have this subtle background. But all of these are nice, like just more differentiated. I think they all just had the scripting, the settings icon before. And so now you can actually tell what it does sort of from the iconography. Also, sorry, I just realized my mic placement has been terrible. Oh yeah, this nice quality of life feature. This X button, you used to have to literally hit on the pixels of the X, and now you can just kind of like sloppy click it. That is a really nice one. I think I filed that. That was like, this is just wild. I'm like struggling to delete things because I wasn't like clicking the right pixel, which is funny. Oh wait, sorry, I did jump ahead. Oh yeah, okay. The gallery shows share icons, which is nice because you can just show a shortcut and then copy it and send it to somebody from here. You used to have to add it and then share it with somebody. Text entry works. It was struggling with this, or like rearranging text had a lot of problems. In general, the editor was really crashy and I think is a lot better now. I think once you get into like 300 action shortcuts, it still has issues. I think most of these, I just feel like going through these in detail is going to be too much. I have shortcuts for each of these, and so I'm going to release a set like this that works. But a lot of these I hadn't been publishing because they weren't functioning. That actually works. Save to. It might just be my camera. It will actually save the image if you add save to recents, but just for whatever reason the camera doesn't show my Logitech thing was what I was mentioning. Yeah, a lot of these are pretty straightforward. Like device details is great for the studio display. You can do a lot with Dropbox on the Mac, which I use. Split screen apps actually forces the apps to open instead of just failing, which is nice. Set volume works when your AirPods are connected. Open app can do CarPlay apps, which is nice. Oh yeah, show web page. This one's nice. I think I made basically you can create a web page without. You don't have to like create a new tab every time. So if you want to look at my collection, you can just do this and it pops up on the top. Come on. Here you go, shortcuts. You can do it. What? It just is not. I'm pressing that run button. It's just not doing anything. There it is. So it's like this little popover, and then now there's a cancel and done, but you don't have to like create a new tab. So that's great. Get state of home works. That's a nice one. Let me see. Oh yeah. So another couple of things I'm noticing. So the list of shortcuts now loads faster. So I think this is like this from Stephen Millard is his bypass Alfred workflow, and this pulls in all of my folders and things like that. I do notice that this is in alphabetical order, and he probably did this based off of what it was built on, but they actually specifically call out shortcuts are returned in a user's order instead of alphabetical order. I think this was me too, because I have a shortcut that gets all of my folders in order. And it was struggling. Where'd it go? It was struggling to get the proper order. Folders, there you are. Copy folder names. This uses that shortcuts command line utility. Thank you, Antonio, for the help, and gets it all. So I can just really quickly pull out all of my folders in order and then add these into Airtable. Essentially, because then I can update my website and say, here's my new list of folders. So pretty fun. I'm super excited about that. And this is one of those ones that I'll be making available for members too. I think I need to like give you extra credit on this, Antonio, because I'm pretty sure you did both of these sides of this. But it is very nice. So I think that is most of it. I do want to give the preview of some member shortcuts. Let me just answer some questions though, because it's great. Anyone done a roundup of iPadOS apps you should be using on your M1 Mac? I honestly don't know if anyone's doing this. And to be fair, like this universal control thing, I would just use this if you have that. I guess that's I am going to, is what I'm saying. That's not really a solution for everybody. So I can recognize that. I think most of the time they just aren't that great of an experience. Or that was kind of a way to bridge the gap in between making a universal app that I think is what a lot of developers are going for. Like even Joe maybe could speak to it about how it's just a subpar experience running an iPad app on the Mac, and you can take your iPad app and make it so close to a Mac app now that I think that probably is more worth it. But again, like the Nan Light Studio, that's a great example of you just can't do that otherwise. So if you have it, you can. So I think that's a great solution. Probably the same thing for my Aperture Light thing is I just want the control on my Mac when I need it. But that's where I do think universal control for me just makes it so nice to have both of these side by side, and I can just pull up whichever one I need. They don't have the keyword for their name in the light, so I can never remember what it's called. It's studio something whatnot. It might also not work on the iPad. Maybe that's my problem. So that's probably a good example of where the iPhone app is worth. If it's iPhone only, then you probably still could just download it directly. So good question. Oh yeah, I skipped over this one. Overlay image when using custom. Okay, so they use the same origin points now. Is it better to have it in the top right though? I don't necessarily understand it. Oh, it's Citus Link. Okay, thanks. So there it is. And it's an iPhone app. So it's an iPhone app running on an iPad, running on a Mac. Oh man, I love it. Okay, but yeah, that's where I would probably do something like that. Okay, back to Joe. So just having them the same origin points is really good because you can overlay images on that. How are you using that, Joe? Is that for thumbnails or? I'm super curious, but I'd love to try that. Let me see. There was I glossed over some fun ones. The Apple Watch, now you can open web pages on your Apple Watch. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Except that I'm just still having problems with my Apple Watch. I think this is where all my sync issues come from, is that 50 megabyte shortcut is trying to go through my Apple Watch and doesn't work. And then 3 weeks later, it finally works. And then it just screws everything up again. So that's lovely. And then this was Run Shortcut had a lot of issues running other shortcuts. If you ran multiple shortcuts below, it didn't really work. So thanks, Doc. Are you referring to just the aperture thing or this whole thing? I do have this shortcuts colored background, but it just literally doesn't fit. There's a black bar right at the bottom, and so I don't like that too. But yeah, okay. See, you said top left corner, but I'm just happy to not. That's what I thought. I thought top left corner made more sense. So I don't necessarily understand. I feel like you'd run into issues where I don't know, I guess maybe just left to right languages. I'm biased to think that you would crop out the right side, but it is just odd. Because if you crop into the left, then the new right is in a new place. These are one of those overlaying stuff and pixel specific stuff this is where I need to do a whole stream sitting with Joe, and we're just figuring it out. So, hey Jason, happy Sunday to you too. Overlay image for app screenshots to overlay on device frames. Nice. Doing the Apple Frames teachy style, but also for developers makes a ton of sense. Ooh, I feel like I've been talking for an hour and a half straight, probably because I have been. I think this is everything new. I just want to take a step back and think about everything that's changed too, because it just is so different sometimes. I think this sort of, to me, marks the Mac app is, besides those the Safari selection being broken and not being able to pick from those menus really actually does limit what shortcuts can do there, just in terms of being the complete experience that people expect. So I'm not going to lie, it is slightly disappointing. I'm trying to give Apple a lot more credit because they are making a lot of changes, but it is slightly disappointing that it sounds like for the entirety of iOS, or no, I guess there will be 15.5. They won't have gotten it fixed until that point, which is kind of a bummer, just in terms of being up to what it should have been when they released it. But I think it's also getting a lot better. And so that Mac app, there's a lot of quality of life improvements here that is just why doesn't this work right? you put it this way on a different platform, and why doesn't it work that way on this platform too? That sort of seems to be resolved, or at least 99% there. So that's super nice, because I was just worried that that's going to keep lasting longer and longer. And a lot of people probably haven't adopted shortcuts for Mac yet. And so once they do, this stuff should just work, which is great. I do think the reminder stuff is kind of a example of, this is really great. I also would have really liked this 6 months ago when iOS 15 launched. Having those features available at launch, I think, is super important for the shortcuts community and for just anybody who would use new features launched at WWDC. If these things aren't supported fully across the system, people like me just won't use them, because I want to use reminders tags. I just can't use it to the degree that I would unless it's built into shortcuts. So Notes doesn't have tag support, released at the exact same time. So I think the teams are separate. That generally accounts for these kind of things not being implemented across that. But I think that's something that Apple should work on holistically, of getting every team to add shortcut support when they add brand new features. Otherwise, the people who are most likely to use that feature are not going to, and they're going to sit there waiting patiently for shortcut support, and then only then can they start with it. So the reminders team is 6 months behind, and so are all of us with this. So I'm glad to be able to use it now, and I'm still learning, but it is last fall when all these features came out, that's the time when I would prefer to be able to fully integrate these things. So I'm just saying this out loud because I want to clip this and send it to the shortcuts team at Apple. Just please add first party support when new features are added. Please add that support in shortcuts. I think set playback destination is a great example of just, we've always wanted this feature for HomePods, and it kind of is now Apple making these things available through shortcuts. I think what's going to be super curious is the prevalence of that. Even now that I just want to check, because I don't think it usually, to be honest, it doesn't tend to happen where Apple adds categories. Let me just open this up in the shortcuts app explaining these features. There should be a group in here right now for reminders, playback destination. Every single one of these things should have new category things. And that's something that I'd like to see from Apple a lot as well. These features are out. Tell us how to use it. Pretty straightforward. And I think that is necessary, because otherwise I have to give it on the stream. Otherwise you'll never even know that the overlay image thing worked in the top right. So that goes back to that release notes. That is great, because this is a lot more detail than I would have been able to figure out myself. I had all these main features, and I couldn't even remember if reminders tags came out then or not. And it was just I don't know. So I'm glad that all is different now. I think the translate text stuff is again, Apple slowly integrating these services into themselves. And that's sort of tied in the get current web page from Safari, where if that stuff works on iOS, we should have it on the Mac, and they should be able to integrate it fully. Or, I mean, translation is a whole different thing that Apple's now providing too, but that Translate app has been out for a while. So, again, I think seeing those super soon in shortcuts so people can take advantage of what is available is super important. And again, live text also got that support too, so that's a great one. Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty much it. I think there's still more bugs. I'm sure Antonio has been furiously writing down all of the things that there's like international date support and things like that that are really weird in terms of text entry plus periods and all that, but it should totally be possible. So I'd like to see those things fixed in this next version, but it does seem like most major issues are close to being resolved with this version of shortcuts. We'll see what happens when they introduce a whole nother version, but I hope it'll stay stable and push forward in terms of what we're able to do like here and say goodbye. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Sorry about the issues today. God, I love it. I'll just stick around for a couple of minutes just because I didn't want to end like that. That was a little brutal. I think I was just saying that I'm glad to see all of this kind of get wrapped up, and I feel like automations are a super exciting opportunity. So that'll be fun to dig into on future streams, and I really appreciate all the comments too. That was great. Like, I really did. I just love hearing from you guys, and I want to build this stuff with you. So that's a lot more fun. All right, I'm just going to poke around now and maybe I'll just rearrange some of my folders for a second. This is what happened last night. Or, yeah, I rearranged all of my folders, and then right around here, it just took this chunk that goes all the way down to here and just put them out of order. So now I have to sit here for like an hour and a half and rearrange these. It's very silly sometimes. Oh no, now it's not even showing me the comments anymore. Okay, it's good to know. I'm really glad I can reconnect and not just abandon the stream every time. Okay. Thanks, Antonia. I appreciate it. Different Antonia. I love it. Yeah, it's fun to do. So thanks everyone again for tuning in. And now I'm going to officially call it here, and I'll just do my outro scene instead of cutting you all off right away. All right. Bye, folks.